This is how I made $860 for the month of July. This has been my best month so far, and I'll be breaking down everything from A to Z. I'll be showing you what I did, how you can get started yourself, whether I think it's worth your time or not, my estimation of the hourly rate for each side hustle, giving each hustle a grade. No ridiculous claims about making tens of thousands of dollars without actually showing any proof. It's all real, no BS. Starting off with the side hustle that made me the least amount of money was Prolific.com. Prolific.com is essentially a survey site. Researchers from universities mostly sign up for this website when they're conducting research about certain topics. When you sign up here, they ask you details about yourself. For example, some details about your geographic location, some details about your personality, about your finances, the interests that you have, the hobbies that you have, and preferences as well. Depending on what you fill out, researchers might want your expertise, and you qualify for surveys. The thing to note is most surveys here are not going to take that long, but they're also not going to pay much. Most surveys that I saw paid from $1 all the way up to $15, with many surveys being on the lesser side. I only qualified for 2 of these, a joke rating study where I had to go through jokes and rate them, and also a study on sports and dating where you have to rank certain sports in terms of how attractive you think your partner would be if they played them. And this netted me a grand total of 0.8 pounds, since this company is a UK company, or roughly 1.42 Canadian dollars. Like I said, I am not going to hide anything. Literally nothing. Even $1.42. I'm gonna say this is a C- side hustle just because I don't think that they pay enough for the time you actually spend doing the survey. The hourly rate is extremely low at I would say around $7 to $8 per hour, and I think your time is spent better doing other things, but if you don't have time for anything else, this is an easy way to make money while you're simply using your laptop. They provide this extremely helpful Google Chrome extension which pings you every time there's a survey available, and then you can just go click the extension and then do the survey as you're watching YouTube videos, scrolling Reddit, or using Instagram. Moving on to the next side hustle, Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com is a freelancing website where you can go and sell your skills to clients and earn money. The problem with Fiverr.com is that it's extremely saturated. No matter if you think you're good at video editing, SEO, financial or accounting services, software developing services, there's thousands of people out there doing exactly what you want to do at a much lesser rate. Just because Fiverr does not discriminate geographically, so if I am based in Canada or the US, I can work with a Fiverr freelancer that is based in India, based in the Philippines, and in other low-cost countries that provide the same quality of service, which is extremely important to note. I still decided to try out Fiverr though because the earning potential is still there after you have some social proof and some positive reviews. And I would recommend for Fiverr selling something that you actually think that you're good at. For me, that is career services, specifically helping people prepare for job interviews. And I can do this since I have actual results. I've actually helped people land jobs, get better at interviews, even helping them prepare for specific situations and specific companies, making tailored interviews just so that they have an extremely close mock interview to what they would actually experience. I'm not out here selling some SEO or something that I know nothing about, since I don't think that is a good idea on Fiverr, since if you're not good at something, it's going to show because people can easily see if you're an expert or not. So start with what you're actually good at and what you're passionate about, and be patient, which is my second point with Fiverr. A lot of people start out and price their gigs extremely high, maybe even higher than the market, because they really value their time, but you have to be careful with this, especially on Fiverr or extremely competitive platforms. My recommendation is, and this is what's worked for me so far, is price lower so that you get those initial clients and that initial proof, those initial ratings that would make you more visible on the platform, and then you can slowly and steadily raise your price. For one of my gigs, my interview gig, I did get some orders and I actually got a lot of good reviews, so now I've slightly bumped up that price. But for my other gigs where I haven't gotten many orders, I have kept the price low just because I want that social proof so that Fiverr knows I'm a positively rated freelancer and also shows me to other people. Do what you're good at, stay patient, and stay consistent, and actually do the work, which I don't think needs to be said, but I guess I have to say it. Actually come through with your orders. I got 3 orders this month, coming out to $84.34 roughly, and I would rate this a B side hustle for now. Like I said, I am keeping my price low, so the per hour return for me on this is very low. It's probably less than $10 an hour, and I'm going to let this go for at least this year, maybe even more than this year, and see how far I can grow this business. By the way, before we go forward, if you're enjoying this video so far, want to learn more about money or finance, how to make more money, or just better understand it, smash the like button and smash the subscribe button as well, and I'll keep on absolutely pumping this content for you. My next side hustle was usertesting.com. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's slowly becoming one of my favorite sites. Usertesting.com is simply a survey site. You sign up, you provide some basic details about yourself, for example, your location, what your interests are, what platforms you have access to, i.e. Android or Apple, and also about some of your preferences, if you like playing certain types of games, if you like crypto or not, etc, etc. After you're done providing this information, you get access to a bunch of surveys. These surveys are essentially a way for companies to get feedback on their products or websites. For example, if you're really into crypto, a crypto company making something on the blockchain might reach out to you for feedback about a product that they're making or some changes to their website. These surveys can range from anywhere to $4 to $90, and most surveys you'll see on the site are $10. My recommendation and my technique is always to go for the $30 to $60 surveys. This is simply because they're the best bang for your buck. Each of these $30 or $60 surveys take 30 minutes to 1 hour to complete, and the hourly rate then is very high. The $10 surveys also take around 15 minutes to complete, so the hourly rate is high there as well. But my preference is always to go for these $30 to $60 surveys. One thing to note here with these surveys is that you'll actually have to speak out loud and give your opinion. So if you're scrolling through a website that the company's made, there'll be some questions on the top right corner that the company wants you to answer, and you'll have to speak out loud and give your opinion on those particular questions. For the $30 and $60 surveys, you actually have to speak to a live person. So if you're someone who's nervous talking to people, I just recommend talking to yourself in your phone's mic even, or in front of a mirror, and getting some practice of speaking out loud and answering questions as people ask questions to you. Once you've gotten that skill down, you can pretty much do any of these surveys. For me, I got 4 of these surveys, 3 $60 ones and 1 $30 one, coming out to $210 US or 291 Canadian dollars. I'm in Canada. Sorry, you have to deal with it. This for me is an A+ side hustle. A+, I'll say A+ 1,000 times. The hourly rate for this, even for the $10 survey, is extremely high. One thing to note with this is that you're not going to qualify for each of these surveys. Sometimes you'll fill out information and the survey is going to disqualify you because you don't meet one of the criteria. Even taking into account the surveys you don't qualify for, the hourly rate is still high, at around $20 to $25 an hour. Moving on to the next side hustle, dividends. Juicy dividends. Just squeeze the juice all out of them, squeeze them as hard as you can. Dividends are essentially profit payments that companies pay back to shareholders as an incentive to keep on holding the stock, or just to give some value back to the shareholders. The simplest example is, let's say if a company is making $100, it pays $50 in costs for making the product, marketing it, and transporting it. It has $50 left. Most companies have 2 objectives now. A, reinvest the money and grow the business, and B, pay out some money to the shareholders just for them to keep on investing in the business. And most companies on the stock market pay some money back to shareholders in every sector. Tech, manufacturing, insurance, any sector that you can think of pays dividends. And if you're thinking here, I don't want to lose my money in the stock market, I've seen those memes where people lose $50,000 a month. The good thing is you don't have to trade at all. For me, I am a buy and hold investor, which means that I buy for the long run, and I mostly invest in ETFs. ETFs, or exchange trade funds, are made of a basket of companies. Particularly in America, the S&P 500 is made of the 500 biggest companies in the country, and the Nasdaq 100 is made of the 100 biggest companies in the country as well. If you invest in these ETFs, the probability of you losing your money is very extremely low over the long run. If you look at the last 50 years, the S&P 500 has risen by 10% annualized on average, just for buying and holding. And you still get these dividends. If you're interested in the Canadian market or your country's market, Canada has the TSX 60 with the 60 biggest Canadian companies, and I'm sure if you search your country dash ETF, not dash, space ETF, you should see a list of the top ETFs in your country also providing a way for you to invest. And most of my dividends came from these ETFs, particularly ETFs tracking the S&P 500, like I talked about, the Canadian version of the S&P 500, the TSX 60, and also some other staple Canadian companies like TELUS, a telecom provider, and the Bank of Nova Scotia, one of the biggest banks in Canada, along with some covered call ETFs. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what covered calls are, but in essence, covered call ETFs sacrifice some of the long-term growth to give you income now. There's pros and cons of this strategy, and it's widely debated in the investment community, with a lot of growth investors not liking this form of investment. But for me, at least for me, this is my personal opinion, seeing income is a good motivating factor. I've started my investment journey a couple years ago, and in the first few months, I really didn't earn many dividends. But now, since I've seen this amount growing and snowballing, it gives me more motivation to keep on investing and keep on being consistent with my saving. And once again, I don't have a lot of money in covered call ETFs, but just enough to keep me interested. Overall, I made $483 in dividend income, which is an insane amount. It blows my mind that this is real. $483 just for simply buying and holding. And if you're scared of starting out, there's tons of free brokers available everywhere in the US, Canada, Australia, wherever you are. And if you want to get started, you can get started for very, very cheap. For me, this is an A+ side hustle. This is the most passive side hustle that I've seen so far in the dozens that I've tried. It's always going to be consistent because these companies are not going anywhere for the near future and even for the far future most likely. Well, that's all the income I made, but it's also important to talk about some failures. And this month I failed at a side hustle I tried of making an AI YouTube channel, also called YouTube automation. I tried this idea of making AI generated videos about affirmations, posting them on YouTube in the hopes of getting monetized. But as I found out in another video that I've covered, that was a complete waste of time. I sank $100, so I guess you can say I made $700 this month. But it's important to mention that because I want to be fully transparent. So that's it. Those are the side hustles I used, what actually worked, what I failed at, and hopefully this number is only going to keep on getting bigger as I keep on growing this. Also hoping that some people might find it useful, actually try one of these side hustles out, and actually make some money. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button as always, smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.